The Fox and the Ghost King by Michael Morpurgo. Chapter 5. Digging and Dreaming. We dug down and down, deep under the car park, then along and along, Dad doing most of the digging if I'm honest, with me scooping out the earth behind us. We dug and scooped, and the King's voice talked us in towards him all the time, mostly about that wretched horse of his that ran off just before they killed him at Bosworth Field, and how you should never trust a war horse. They're not brave at all, he said, just big and stupid. And of course he went on and on about how much he loathed and detested and despised William Shakespeare. Dad didn't like to upset him, but he told me quietly as he was digging that he had once watched one of those Shakespeare plays, an open-air production in the park, and it wasn't bad at all, he said. A Midsummer Night's Dream, he thought it was called. He wasn't sure he quite understood the story, but there were lots of laughs, and a donkey called Bottom, he remembered, and a funny little fellow, a wild creature of the woods called Puck.
A bit like a fox he was, said Dad, digging away. A bit like me, a bit like you. Kept getting himself into all sorts of trouble, but somehow he managed to get himself out of it again. Like I said, like us.
It was a tiring night, and a long night, but we kept ourselves digging by telling each other what the scores were going to be in every match the Foxes would be playing in their winning season ahead. We lived every game as we imagined it. Who scored the goals? So Vardy mostly, of course. Who made the tackles, the crosses, the perfect passes? Who took the penalties? Spurs 0, Leicester City 4. Manchester United 1, Leicester City 3. Southampton 1, Leicester City 6. Chelsea 0, Leicester City 10. The more we won in our mind's eye, that's Shakespeare again. He gets everywhere, that man, like the King said. The more goals we scored, the harder we dug. We ate a few worms as we went along, of course, to keep ourselves going. By dawn we were that close to the King's voice we thought we could almost smell him.
They'll easily find you enough now, your kingship, said Dad, and we've got to get home before the city wakes up.
The King thanked us quite politely, but Dad was not fooled by his politeness.
When they find you, your kingship, you just keep your side of the bargain, all right?
He told him politely, but very firmly. I will, said the King. Don't you worry, Mr. Fox, Master Fox. I will. I am a king of my word. So we padded back along the streets, visiting a dustbin here and there on the way, and came back to our lovely warm smelly den under the garden shed, where we told Mum and all my little sisters everything that had happened. And Mum was cross with us. We had stayed out so late, and she'd been worried sick, she said. Also, she thought that digging all night, just because some strange voice from under the ground asked us to, and for a ridiculous promise that could never come true, was a waste of time and plain silly. And my sisters were cross because Dad had not brought home any pizza or chips for them, and they were jealous I'd had such an exciting time. They wanted to go to the football as much as me, and it wasn't fair, they said. They do go on sometimes, my sisters, but I love them all the same. And when I slept that night, I dreamed the impossible dream. The Foxes had won the league, and Vardy was holding the cup aloft, and everyone in Leicester and every fox in the whole country was over the moon, on cloud 9. Well, you know what I mean. And do you know? They discovered the grave of Richard III in the car park, followed our tunnel and found it the very next day. They even said some fox had led them right to it. It was 2 foxes, actually. And after a bit of historical and political kerfuffle and argy-bargy, they buried him, with all the pomp and honour and dignity he so longed for, in Leicester Cathedral. And you know something else? William Shakespeare was wrong about that king, in part at least. King Richard III of England was not as bad as all that, as Shakespeare had made him out to be. He was a king of his word. He kept his promise. Hope you enjoyed listening to that chapter. Don't forget there are activities for you to try before you listen to the next part. You can find them in the description box beneath the video. Thanks for joining us, and hope you'll be back soon. Bye for now.